Is that all of it?
Yes, sir. It's all here.
Good. Seal it.
Right away.
What would you do if the person you loved most in the world never spoke a single word to you? If you're enjoying this story, please like, share, and subscribe. We love hearing from you, so tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Marcus Sterling stood at the window of his Manhattan penthouse, staring at the city lights below. He was one of the richest men in America. He owned hotels, restaurants, and buildings that touched the sky. People respected him. They wanted to be like him. But none of that mattered anymore, because his 6-year-old daughter Maya had never said a single word in her entire life. Marcus turned away from the window and looked at the papers on his desk. They were from the Alpine Institute in Switzerland, a special school for children who needed help. The school cost more money than most people earned in a lifetime. But Marcus didn't care about the cost. He just wanted his daughter to be normal. "Mr. Sterling?" A soft voice came from the doorway. Marcus looked up. A woman stood there, wearing simple clothes and carrying a small bag. She had kind eyes and a calm face. This was Grace Thompson, the new nanny. She was the 7th nanny Marcus had hired in 2 years. The others had all quit. "You're late," Marcus said coldly. "The traffic was bad." "I'm sorry," Grace replied. She didn't look scared, even though Marcus was frowning at her. "I don't accept excuses. In my world, being late means you don't care enough." Marcus walked toward her. "Do you understand what you're getting into? My daughter doesn't talk. She doesn't play with other children. She doesn't even look at people most of the time. The doctors say there's something wrong with her brain." Grace set her bag down gently. "With respect, Mr. Sterling, I don't believe children are broken. They're just different." Marcus laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Different? I've spent millions on therapists, doctors, and specialists. They all say the same thing. Maya needs intensive treatment. That's why she's going to Switzerland in 2 weeks." 2 weeks. Grace's eyes widened. "That's very soon. I've waited 6 years for her to speak. That's long enough." Marcus handed Grace a thick folder. "These are the rules. Maya eats at exactly 6 o'clock. She goes to bed at 8. She has therapy sessions every day. You will take her to those sessions. You will not skip them. You will not let her waste time playing or doing useless things. Do you understand?" Grace took the folder but didn't open it. "May I meet Maya now?" Marcus pointed down the hallway. "Third door on the left. Don't expect her to notice you. She lives in her own world." Grace walked down the long hallway. The penthouse was beautiful, with expensive paintings on the walls and soft carpet under her feet. But it felt cold, like a museum instead of a home. She reached the third door and knocked softly. No answer. Grace opened the door slowly. The room was huge, filled with toys that looked like they had never been touched. In the corner, sitting on the floor with her back against the wall, was a small girl with dark curly hair and big brown eyes. Maya. The little girl was staring at a blank wall. She didn't move when Grace entered. She didn't even blink. Grace sat down on the floor, far enough away to give Maya space. She didn't say anything at first. She just sat there, being quiet, being present. After 5 minutes, Maya's eyes shifted slightly. She glanced at Grace, then back at the wall. "Hi, Maya," Grace said softly. "My name is Grace. I'm going to be spending time with you. You don't have to talk to me. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. I just want you to know that I'm here." Maya didn't respond. But Grace noticed something. The little girl's fingers were moving in a strange pattern on the floor, tapping in what looked like a rhythm. Tap, tap, pause. Tap, 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 pause. Over and over. Grace watched carefully. It wasn't random. It was a pattern, like a code or a song. "That's interesting," Grace said. "Are you making music?" Maya's fingers stopped. For just a second, her eyes met Grace's. Then she looked away again. But Grace had seen it. There was someone in there. someone smart, someone paying attention. That night, Grace met Carmen, the housekeeper. Carmen was an older woman who had worked for Marcus for 10 years. She was making dinner in the huge kitchen when Grace came in. "You're the new nanny," Carmen said, not looking up from the vegetables she was chopping. "How long do you think you'll last?" "As long as Maya needs me," Grace answered. Carmen stopped chopping and looked at Grace with surprise. "You said Maya, not Mr. Sterling. That's different from the others. I work for Maya, not her father." Carmen smiled for the first time. "Then you might actually survive here. But I should warn you. Mr. Sterling has made up his mind. Maya is going to Switzerland no matter what. He thinks that school will fix her." Fix her? Grace felt anger rising in her chest. "She doesn't need fixing. Try telling him that. He's convinced she's damaged. He's ashamed of her." Carmen's voice dropped to a whisper. "He throws these big parties and charity events, and he never lets Maya come. He says she would embarrass him." Grace clenched her fists. "That's cruel. That's Marcus Sterling. He built an empire, but he doesn't know how to love his own daughter." Carmen went back to chopping vegetables. "There's something you should know. Maya's mother died when Maya was born. Marcus blamed himself. Then when Maya didn't talk, he blamed her too. He sees her silence as a punishment." Grace felt her heart break a little. That poor child. She's used to it now. She's learned to disappear. Carmen put down her knife. "But maybe you'll be different. Maybe you'll actually see her." That night, Grace couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Maya, sitting alone in that big room, surrounded by toys she never played with. She thought about Marcus, so powerful and successful, but so blind to the treasure right in front of him. Grace got out of bed and walked quietly down the hallway. She wasn't sure why. She just felt pulled toward Maya's room. But when she got there, the room was empty. Grace's heart started beating faster. Where was Maya? She checked the bathroom. Empty. She looked in the playroom. Empty. Then she heard it. A sound so beautiful it made her stop breathing. Someone was playing the piano. Grace followed the sound down another hallway, to a room she hadn't noticed before. The door was slightly open, and light spilled out into the darkness. She pushed the door open wider and froze. There, sitting at a grand piano in a room filled with instruments, was Maya. Her small fingers were dancing across the keys, playing a piece of music so complex and beautiful that Grace felt tears in her eyes. This wasn't a beginner playing. This was a master. Maya was playing like someone who had studied music for years. Her eyes were closed, her body swaying with the rhythm. She looked peaceful. She looked alive. Grace stood there, barely breathing, afraid to break the spell. But then Maya's eyes opened. She saw Grace standing in the doorway. Their eyes met. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Maya did something that changed everything. She smiled. It was a small smile, shy and uncertain. But it was real. Grace smiled back, tears running down her cheeks. "Maya," she whispered. "You're amazing." Maya turned back to the piano and began playing again. This time, it was a different song, something softer and sadder. Grace understood then. Maya wasn't broken. Maya wasn't empty. Maya was brilliant. She just chose to speak in a different language. And Grace had just 2 weeks to prove it before Marcus sent this extraordinary child away forever. Grace watched Maya play the piano every night for the next week. She brought her phone and recorded videos, but she never interrupted. She just watched and learned. Maya wasn't just playing piano. She was speaking through music. Each song told a story, expressed a feeling, shared a thought. And Grace was beginning to understand the language. During the day, Grace started testing something. She would leave books around Maya's room. Math books. Science books. Books in different languages. Then she would watch from the corner of her eye. On Tuesday, she left a book about ancient Egypt written in French. Within an hour, Maya had picked it up and was reading it, her finger following the words. On Wednesday, Grace left a college-level mathematics workbook on the table. By Thursday morning, Maya had solved every problem in the first 3 chapters. Perfectly. On Friday, Grace left a book of poetry in Spanish. That night, Maya played a song on the piano that matched the rhythm and emotion of the poems. Grace's hands shook as she recorded each discovery. Maya wasn't just smart. She was a genius. She could read multiple languages. She understood complex mathematics. She could play music that professional musicians spent years learning. But she chose not to speak. Grace needed to understand why. So one night, after Maya finished playing, Grace sat down next to her on the piano bench. "Maya," Grace said softly, "I know you can understand me. You don't have to talk if you don't want to. But I need to know something. Why don't you speak?" Maya's fingers hovered over the piano keys. She pressed one key, then another, then another. She was playing notes that spelled out words in a musical code. Grace didn't understand at first. But then Maya did something else. She got up, walked to a bookshelf, and pulled out a book. It was a picture book about a bird who had lost its song. Maya opened the book to a page where the bird was sitting alone, surrounded by other birds who were all singing. The silent bird looked sad and small. Grace felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. "Oh, Maya. Did something happen? Did someone hurt you?" Maya turned to another page. This page showed the bird's mother, lying still on the ground, no longer moving. Grace understood then. "Your mother. You remember her dying, don't you? Even though you were just a baby." Maya closed the book and looked at Grace with those big brown eyes. Then she nodded. "Just once. And you stopped talking because of the pain?" Another nod. "And now you don't know how to start again?" Maya looked down at her hands. She shook her head. But then she did something surprising. She touched Grace's hand gently and squeezed it. Grace squeezed back, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you for trusting me. I promise I will help you. But Maya, I need your help too. Your father is going to send you away in 1 week. We need to show him who you really are." Maya pulled her hand away. She shook her head hard, looking scared. "I know you're afraid. But if he sends you to that school, they'll try to change you. They'll think you're broken, just like he does. We have to show him the truth." Maya stood up and walked to the window. She stared out at the city lights, her small body tense. Grace joined her at the window. "You're not broken, Maya. You're extraordinary. And it's time your father knew that." The next morning, everything got worse. Grace was helping Maya get dressed when Marcus burst into the room without knocking. Behind him was a tall, stern-looking woman with gray hair pulled back tight. She wore an expensive suit and carried a leather briefcase. "Grace, this is Dr. Helena Foster from the Alpine Institute," Marcus said. His voice was cold and businesslike. "She's here to evaluate Maya before we leave for Switzerland." Dr. Foster smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Hello, Maya. I'm going to do some tests with you today. Won't that be fun?" Maya stepped behind Grace, hiding. "She's shy with strangers," Grace said, putting a protective hand on Maya's shoulder. "All the more reason she needs professional help," Dr. Foster said. She pulled out a folder from her briefcase. "I've reviewed her files. 6 years old, nonverbal, no eye contact, limited social interaction. Classic signs of severe developmental delays." "That's not true," Grace said, her voice stronger than before. "Maya is extremely intelligent. She reads multiple languages, solves complex math problems, and plays piano at an advanced level." Marcus stared at Grace like she had grown a second head. "What are you talking about?" "I've been watching her. Recording her. She's gifted, Mr. Sterling. Profoundly gifted." Dr. Foster laughed. "Miss Thompson, I understand you want to see the best in the child, but these fantasies aren't helpful. I've worked with hundreds of cases like Maya's. The kindest thing we can do is provide proper institutional care. She's not a case. Grace's voice rose. She's a little girl with an extraordinary mind who needs understanding, not fixing. Marcus's face turned red. That's enough. You've been here less than 2 weeks. Dr. Foster has 30 years of experience. Maya will do the evaluation now. Grace looked down at Maya, who was trembling behind her. She wanted to fight, to refuse, to protect this child. But she knew that would only make things worse. It's okay, Maya, Grace whispered. Just do what you need to do. The evaluation was horrible to watch. Dr. Foster asked Maya simple questions that Maya refused to answer. She gave Maya basic puzzles that Maya refused to touch. She tried to make Maya look at pictures and identify objects, but Maya just stared at the floor. After 2 hours, Dr. Foster closed her notebook with a satisfied snap. As I suspected. Severe developmental delays. She functions at about a 2-year-old level. The Alpine Institute is exactly what she needs. Grace wanted to scream. Maya had just proven she was smarter than everyone in the room by refusing to play their game. But nobody else understood that. I want to show you something, Grace said desperately. She pulled out her phone. I have videos. Maya plays piano like a concert musician. She reads books in French, Spanish, and German. She solves college-level math. Just watch. She tried to show Marcus the videos, but he pushed the phone away. I don't have time for this nonsense. Dr. Foster is the expert, not you. But sir, if you would just look. You're fired. The words hit Grace like ice water. What? You're fired, Marcus repeated. Pack your things and leave today. Carmen will handle Maya until we leave for Switzerland on Monday. Grace felt the world spinning. You can't do this. Maya needs me. Maya needs professional help, which she will get in Switzerland. You are no longer needed. Marcus turned his back on her. Dr. Foster, please schedule the travel arrangements. Grace looked at Maya, who was still standing in the corner, her face blank. But Grace could see the tears gathering in the little girl's eyes. Maya, I'm sorry, Grace whispered. But before she could say more, Carmen appeared in the doorway. Mr. Sterling, you have an urgent call from Tokyo. They say it can't wait. Marcus sighed with frustration. I'll be right there. He pointed at Grace. I want you gone within the hour. He left, and Dr. Foster followed him. Grace and Maya were alone with Carmen. Did you really record her doing all those things? Carmen asked quietly. Grace nodded, tears running down her face. She's brilliant, Carmen. She's not broken at all. Carmen looked at Maya for a long moment. Then she made a decision. Mr. Sterling is throwing his annual charity gala tomorrow night at Sterling Tower. Everyone who is anyone will be there. Governors, senators, celebrities. It's the biggest event of the year for him. Why are you telling me this? Carmen smiled. Because Maya has never been allowed to go. He always leaves her here with whoever is watching her. But what if, this one time, she went? Grace felt hope rising in her chest. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that if Maya wants to show her father who she really is, tomorrow night would be the time to do it. In front of everyone. Where he can't ignore her or hide her away. Grace looked at Maya. Is that what you want, sweetheart? Do you want to show everyone the truth? Maya stood very still for a long moment. Then, slowly, she walked to the piano in the music room. She sat down and began to play. It was the most beautiful song Grace had ever heard. It was full of sadness and hope and courage and fear all mixed together. It was the sound of a little girl deciding to fight for herself. When the song ended, Maya turned around and looked at Grace. She nodded once. Okay, Grace said, kneeling down to Maya's level. Then we're going to need a plan. And we're going to need to be very, very brave. Maya reached out and took Grace's hand. She squeezed it tight. For the first time in 6 years, Maya was ready to let the world hear her voice. The next evening, Sterling Tower sparkled like a jewel in the Manhattan skyline. Limousines lined up outside, dropping off women in expensive dresses and men in perfect suits. Cameras flashed. Reporters called out questions. Inside, 1,000 candles lit the grand ballroom, and waiters carried trays of champagne and tiny, fancy food. Marcus Sterling stood at the center of it all, shaking hands and smiling his business smile. He was giving a speech about his new charity to help children in need. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so sad. He had no idea that his own daughter was hiding in the building, waiting for her moment. Grace and Carmen had smuggled Maya in through the service entrance 2 hours earlier. They were hiding in a small room behind the stage, where the piano sat waiting for the evening's musical entertainment. Maya wore a simple white dress that Carmen had bought for her. Her curly hair was pulled back with a blue ribbon. She looked small and scared, but her eyes were determined. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Grace asked for the 10th time. "Once you go out there, everything changes. You can't take it back." Maya nodded. She picked up a piece of paper and wrote something on it. She had been writing notes to Grace all day, preparing. This note said, "I'm tired of being invisible." Grace felt tears in her eyes, but she blinked them away. "Okay then. We wait for the signal." The signal was Carmen. She was working in the ballroom, serving drinks. When the time was right, she would dim the lights 3 times. That would be Maya's cue. They waited. Grace held Maya's hand and felt it trembling. "You know what?" Grace whispered. "You're the bravest person I've ever met. Braver than your father. Braver than all those rich people out there. Because you're choosing to be yourself, even though it's scary." Maya squeezed her hand. Out in the ballroom, Marcus was finishing his speech. "And so, with your generous donations tonight, we will help hundreds of children get the education and support they deserve. Because every child has potential. Every child matters." Some people in the crowd shifted uncomfortably. They knew Marcus had a daughter. They knew he was sending her away. But nobody said anything. Rich people were good at pretending not to notice uncomfortable truths. Just as Marcus was about to leave the stage, the lights dimmed. Once. Twice. 3 times. Grace felt Maya stand up. "This is it, sweetheart. Remember, you don't have to speak if you don't want to. Just show them who you are." Maya walked toward the door that led to the stage. Grace started to follow, but Maya turned and shook her head. She wanted to do this alone. Grace's heart broke and soared at the same time. "Okay. I'll be right here if you need me." Maya pushed open the door and walked onto the stage. At first, nobody noticed. The lights were coming back up, and people were clapping politely for Marcus's speech. Marcus was walking off the stage, already thinking about his next meeting. Then someone gasped. Then another person. Then everyone was staring. A little girl was walking toward the grand piano in the center of the stage. She was so small that she had to climb onto the bench. Her feet didn't touch the floor. Marcus froze. His face went white. "Maya, what are you?" But Maya wasn't looking at him. She was looking at the piano. She placed her small hands on the keys, took a deep breath, and began to play. The first notes floated through the ballroom like magic. People stopped talking. Waiters stopped walking. Even the reporters at the back of the room went silent. Maya was playing Chopin. Not a simple piece. Not a child's song. She was playing one of the most difficult piano compositions ever written, a piece that took professional musicians years to master. And she was playing it perfectly. Her fingers flew across the keys. Her body swayed with the music. She played with feeling and passion and skill that shouldn't have been possible for a 6-year-old child. Marcus stood frozen at the side of the stage, his mouth hanging open. Dr. Foster, who had been standing with him, looked like she had seen a ghost. The music filled every corner of the ballroom. It was sad and beautiful and angry and hopeful all at once. It told the story of a little girl who had lost her mother, who had been called broken, who had been invisible for so long. But it also told the story of someone who was fighting back, Someone who was saying, I am here. I matter. I am not what you think I am. Grace watched from the doorway, tears streaming down her face. Carmen stood in the crowd, crying too. Even some of the fancy guests were wiping their eyes. When Maya played the final note, the ballroom was completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then Maya did something nobody expected. She turned on the piano bench to face the crowd. She looked directly at her father. And she opened her mouth. Hello. Her voice was small and rusty from not being used. But it was clear. It was real. The ballroom erupted. People gasped. Some screamed. Many started crying. Marcus stumbled backward like he had been punched. Maya wasn't finished. She stood up on the piano bench so everyone could see her. My name is Maya Sterling. I am 6 years old. I can read in English, French, Spanish, and German. I can solve math problems that teenagers learn. I can play 7 different instruments. I am not broken. I was just sad. And I was scared. But I'm not scared anymore. Her voice got stronger with each word. She looked at her father, who was now sitting on the stage floor, staring at her with tears running down his face. Daddy, you wanted me to be normal. But I am normal. I'm just normal in my own way. I never spoke because it hurt too much when Mommy died. But not speaking hurt you, and that hurt me more. So I'm speaking now. I'm speaking because someone finally saw me. Someone finally listened. Maya pointed to the doorway where Grace stood. That's Grace. She didn't try to fix me. She just tried to know me. And now you know me too. The crowd turned to look at Grace, who was sobbing now. People started clapping. Then they were standing, giving Maya a standing ovation that shook the building. Marcus crawled across the stage toward his daughter. Maya. Oh, Maya, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Maya climbed down from the piano bench and walked to her father. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she hugged him. Marcus wrapped his arms around his tiny daughter and sobbed into her shoulder. I'm sorry. I was so blind. I was so stupid. I was so scared of losing you that I pushed you away. Can you forgive me? Maya pulled back and looked at him. Only if you promise to listen from now on. I promise. I swear I promise. Dr. Foster tried to slip away through the crowd, but Carmen blocked her path. I don't think so. You told everyone this child was severely delayed. You said she functioned like a 2-year-old. I think you owe her an apology. Dr. Foster's face was red. I conducted a standard evaluation. She didn't respond to any of the tests. A new voice spoke up from the crowd. That's because she's too intelligent for your tests. A woman pushed through the crowd. She was Asian, wearing glasses, and carrying a leather bag. I'm Dr. Emily Chen, Child Development Specialist from Columbia University. I saw the videos this young woman posted online this afternoon. Grace gasped. She had forgotten that in her desperation yesterday, she had uploaded some of the videos of Maya to social media, hoping someone would see them and help. Dr. Chen climbed onto the stage and knelt in front of Maya. Hello, Maya. I study children who are exceptionally gifted. Based on what I saw in those videos and what I just witnessed, I believe you're what we call profoundly gifted. Your IQ is probably over 160. You're not developmentally delayed. You're developmentally advanced. Far beyond what most people can understand. She stood up and looked at Marcus. Mr. Sterling, your daughter doesn't need to be fixed or sent away. She needs to be challenged and supported. She needs teachers who understand gifted children. She needs to be allowed to learn at her own pace, in her own way. And most of all, she needs a father who loves her for who she is, not who he wants her to be. Marcus nodded, still crying. Yes. Yes, whatever she needs. I'll give her anything. She doesn't need things, Grace said, finally stepping onto the stage. She needs time. Your attention, your love. Marcus looked at Grace. You tried to tell me. You tried so hard, and I fired you. I'm sorry. Please, will you stay? Will you help me learn how to be the father Maya deserves? Grace looked at Maya. That's up to Maya. It's her choice. Everyone looked at the little girl. Maya thought for a moment. Then she smiled. I want Grace to stay, but not as my nanny, as my friend, and as my teacher, because she's good at both. Grace knelt down and hugged Maya tight. I would be honored. The crowd was still clapping. Reporters were taking pictures. This would be all over the news tomorrow. But none of that mattered to the people on the stage. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. Marcus canceled the trip to Switzerland. He called the Alpine Institute and told them Maya wouldn't be coming, ever. Dr. Foster went back to Switzerland alone, and Marcus made sure everyone knew what had happened. Dr. Chen helped enroll Maya in Columbia University's gifted program for young children. Maya would spend 3 days a week learning with other brilliant kids who understood what it was like to be different. Grace became Maya's official tutor and advocate. She helped Maya explore her interests, supported her when things were hard, and celebrated every victory, big and small. But the biggest change was in Marcus. He cut his work hours in half. He ate dinner with Maya every single night. He learned to play piano so he could practice with her. He read her the books she loved, even when they were in languages he didn't understand. He learned to listen, really listen, to the daughter he had almost lost. One night, 3 months later, Marcus tucked Maya into bed. She had started speaking more regularly now, though she still preferred to be quiet sometimes, and that was okay. Maya, Marcus said softly, can I ask you something? Yes, Daddy. Why did you finally decide to speak that night? At the gala? What made you brave enough? Maya thought about it. Grace told me something. She said that being silent was okay, but being invisible wasn't. She said I had a light inside me, and it was selfish to hide it, because other people needed to see it. Other kids who feel different need to know they're not alone. Marcus felt tears in his eyes again. He cried a lot these days. Happy tears, mostly. You're so wise, little one. When did you get so wise? I was always wise, Daddy. You just weren't listening. Marcus laughed and kissed her forehead. Well, I'm listening now. And I'll never stop listening again. As he left her room, Maya called out, Daddy. Yes, sweetheart. I love you. They were words Marcus had waited 6 years to hear. Words he thought he might never hear. Words that changed everything. I love you too, Maya. More than all the money in the world. More than all the buildings and businesses and success. You are my greatest achievement. You always were. Maya smiled and closed her eyes. For the first time in her life, she felt truly seen, truly heard, truly loved. And that night, she didn't dream of being invisible anymore. She dreamed of all the music she would play, all the books she would read, all the things she would learn, and all the children she would one day help who felt different and alone and scared. Because Maya Sterling had learned the most important lesson of all. Your voice matters. Your gifts matter. You matter. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is let people see who you really are. Even if it scares you. Even if it's hard. Even if you've been silent for so long that you've forgotten how to speak. Because when you finally use your voice, you might just change the world. Or at least, you might change one person's world. And sometimes, that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything.